Hello everyone, you are listening to You've Got 5 Options show with Marta and Anna.
Join us while we are solving yet another life challenge. And if you decide to share your problem with us, yours can be next. Hello everyone, this is Marta.
And this is Anna.
And this is You've Got 5 Options show.
And I hope that there is anyone in this world that can hear us right now, because we have just moved to the new studio where things are as mysterious as this wonderful piece of music that you just heard from Antony Ryan. Actually, no, it's from your band called ISAN.
Yeah.
It's not ISIS. That's a mistake I made once. So, hello everyone. Although good for publicity, because, people might be Googling ISIS and, find ISAN, which has nothing to do with terrorism. Yes, so hello everyone. Guys, I hope that you can hear us. This is You've Got 5 Options with a very, very strange intro.
Welcome everyone on this beautiful Friday afternoon. We will now properly start with our live show. And what we will start with is an introduction of our guest of today. Hello, Antony.
Hello.
Welcome to our live show. And can you please tell us, who are you?
Well, my name is Antony. I am an English person who's been living here in Denmark for 8 years, actually. I think this October is my 8-year anniversary of living in Fredericia in Denmark. I was in Sweden for 2 years before that, and a year in Copenhagen before that. So I'm a 10-year veteran expat now, in the Scandies. I'm half of a band called ISAN, which is what we were listening to in the intro there.
Not ISIS.
Not ISIS, no.
ISAN.
ISAN, yeah, which can stand for a lot of things, like the International Standard Audiovisual Number or the International Society of Autonomic Neurosciences and a lot of other things. In fact, even the northern region of Thailand, and we didn't name ourselves after any of those things.
Yeah, I actually found online that this Thailand region, and I was like, maybe there is some sort of a secret meaning.
There isn't a secret meaning, but I was there, and it was really, really nice to be standing in ISAN in Thailand, and they do a really, really good crab salad.
Okay.
That's a specialty of the region.
That goes really good. That goes really well with your music, for sure.
No, I think a cup of tea goes best with the music, especially the piece that I chose that to play today.
We will listen to it again. Don't worry.
So today's show is called "What the Heck Am I Doing Here?" as an expat. And my first question is Scandies a real thing?
Yeah, the Scandies.
Like the Scandinavian?
The Scandinavian, yeah. All of those countries with the similar format flag.
It's a really cool word. It's another word that I have learned today with Antony here. So
yes, because he's a native British speaker. So I will be honest with you guys, 15% of the time I don't understand him. I'm joking. No, I kind of understand you, but yeah, that's a cool one. Yeah, Scandi.
So we know now that you have been around Scandies for 10 years plus, and you're a veteran. And what have you been doing in the Scandies for the 10 years?
Well, I was actually, as a musician, I was playing a concert in Fredericia, a small festival in July 2007 with Robin, the other half of the band, and I did the fairly typical thing, which was I met a nice Danish person and was living here 3 months later and have been here since.
3 months? So it must have been a pretty impactful Danish person that you've met.
You could say that.
Wait a moment, what, 3 months?
Yeah.
Whoa. Anthony.
But some things have to be done in life, don't they? So
yes.
Yeah.
Definitely 3 months.
So that was all very exciting. We lived in Copenhagen, and we got married, and then we went to Sweden for 2 years to learn to blow glass which is something that I never expected in a million years might be the kind of thing I'd find myself doing. But apparently it turns out I'm certified, or I got a certificate for learning to assist glass blowers.
You're a glass blower assistant?
Yeah, I could be. I haven't done it for 8 years, but yeah.
Okay, that's what you did in Sweden.
That's what we did in Sweden.
Okay.
And then we moved back to Denmark with the idea of setting up a glass studio, and then for various reasons it was
What? Okay, for everyone who is listening, although I am getting messages that the stream is somehow disturbed, that sometimes we are on, sometimes we are off. For everyone who is listening to us right now and has difficulties, technical difficulties, we would like to ensure you that in a week this recording will be released as a podcast or on a YouTube channel. So don't worry, guys, just bear with us because the radio is fixing the streaming issues. But for those of you who will be listening to our other program with Antony, where he actually came out as Paul. No, the other way around. Paul came out as Antony. We solved his challenge without really knowing here back in the day. And then I know Antony privately a little bit, I would say, and I am just like, you were blowing a glass.
Yeah, it's a pretty.
Is that even what is that like a hobby, a business? What?
Well, it's not really. It's a very difficult business to be in, which is why we ended up not doing it even after doing the school training and everything. There's a glass school in Sweden in a small village called Orrefors, which is in the middle of the forest of Sweden. I mean, you think you've been to Nowheresville. This is super Nowheresville. Except there's 200 houses and an enormous glass factory and a glass school, which is the National Glass School of Sweden. My ex-wife, she got a place on the glass school, so we just moved there for 2 years and learned to do it. And there was nothing else for me to do.
Then to blow glass.
So I went to the school as well. Yeah.
So almost like 10 years plus ago, you saw that girl and you moved to Denmark. Then you blew glass in Sweden
with that girl
for 2 years with that girl.
Then we came back to Denmark, and then we had a baby. And we separated 3 years ago now. I think
so
it was,
you are not blowing glass with her anymore.
No, but I still have a lot of glass stuff around the house, stuff that I made or that we made, or that friends made as well.
Okay, I'm speechless. Marta, continue.
Okay, so
the interview.
I didn't know that the interview will be so much about glass blowing because I thought it will be much more about ISAN, because I wanted to tell you guys that there is a rumor that Antony and his other half, Robin,
which is a guy,
have turned down Radiohead.
It's true. Yeah, we did. We were offered a support tour with them back in, I think it was 2003 or something, because they'd heard our record and they really liked it, and we said no.
Why?
You know, I am not a singer, but if Radiohead would ask me to open for them, I could just go and open with, I don't know, blowing glass or whatever. It's like, tell us what's the story here.
Part of it was fear. I mean, Radiohead are one of the biggest bands on the planet. I mean, what you got? Depeche Mode, U2, Radiohead.
Yeah.
I mean, how terrifying would it be to stand in front of their fans to try and do something? That was, I think, was part of it, because we were only at the start of our live career then. We'd only done a handful of shows, and the other was a financial issue, which is. And this is nothing to do with the bands themselves, but with the way that the bands are managed and tour costs and everything. Support artists typically get about €100 a night, and that's to cover all transport costs, all accommodation costs and living expenses. And if you're doing 20, 30 shows or something like that over a period of a few weeks with, car hire, staying in places, whatever, and going from venue to venue to venue to venue, night after night after night, it's really, really expensive. So we would have had to probably take a loan on the house or something to, a bank loan to to actually fund it. And for that reason, it was too much for us at that time, and we said thanks, but sorry, we can't.
Such a pity that couch surfing was not an option at that
Yeah,
point
if
of time.
Airbnb, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have a question. Would you open for share?
For share.
Yes. Because if Cheryl for sure would ask you if I could turn back time.
Well, the thing is, I do believe in life after love, so yeah, I probably would.
Okay, but if Cheryl would ask you if you could turn back time and now you would get the same offer from Radiohead.
Yeah, totally. I'd borrow the money. Yeah, I don't regret many of the decisions in fact, any of the decisions I've made in life, but that's the one that I regret. And
Okay.
So Radiohead, if you're listening to our show,
ISAN
Why
is
are
ready to open for you. No, just like if by any wild chance any of the member of Radiohead is listening. First of all, visit the5options.com because that's a cool site. But second of all, yeah, definitely there is someone with a regret. So just give him a call. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so we know there is something like ISAN, and we know that there's Antony, and we know that there's Robin.
Who is
and
a man?
Who is a man, but that's also an interesting piece of a story. Where's Robin?
Robin's in England. He lives in Suffolk. And we've never made music in the same room, or very, very rarely made music in the same room. It's always been a collaborative project that we've done, working entirely separately. So, for example, the piece of music that that I've selected for today is actually by Robin, and it's a cover version of a piece by Eric Satie. Because I really feel very uncomfortable playing our music for other people. So if I have to, then usually I pick something that's been done by Robin, because
Why?
that takes the weight off my shoulders, and also because of the way we work, I can genuinely enjoy Robin's work. Because the way we work is that Robin will do something and he'll send it to me, and if I like it, then it gets the ISAN stamp, and it works the other way around as well if I send something to Robin. And occasionally we collaborate on stuff and work on each other's pieces by sending. Now we can send projects over the internet, but back in the day it was just on tape, and I would send Robin a finished song, and he would either say, "Yep, thumbs up, that's a good one," or "No, that's really not good," and it would just get deleted and forgotten about. And the ones that we both approved would get the ISAN label or stamp, and we'd collect them together and at some point release them. And that's really the thing I enjoy most about working with Robin that way, is that we're always trying to entertain or excite the other person, and that's the thing that comes first. If Robin likes something that I've done, that's the thing that makes me, yes. And then there surely then will be some other people that probably enjoy that as well. And I love to hear what Robin does. And how does he do that? I still don't know how he works. After all these years, we've been recording together or making music together for, was it 96 was our first official release. So it's been, 22 years.
So it's a pretty amazing story, because you are like a duo.
We're a duo.
That doesn't actually work like
The
together physically.
The only time I see him is at weddings, like Robin and Gayla, his partner's wedding in May, or if we're playing a show. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in Italy.
Or in Italy.
Yes, and we're doing new songs that we haven't, or rather we're doing songs that we've not really played often together before. And we're redeveloping them because this particular concert is in a church, so it's got this huge reverb that we need to work in.
Yeah.
So we're modifying some songs that we have to work in the church environment. And we won't have tried them until we actually meet and we're standing or sitting next to each other in the venue with the speakers on, trying to play something.
So
and that makes it really exciting. That's, you never know what's quite going to happen.
Or suicidal.
So,
For the artist. Okay.
I really want to get into playing that music now. But first of all, church music, I thought, okay, what's the genre of the music that you do?
When we do electronic music that you wouldn't normally dance to, though occasionally some people do at festivals, but that's pretty rare. But it's just electronic instrumental music to listen to. It's not entirely ambient, but you could put it on as background music, or you could listen to it on the bus, or people use it in films and TV and commercials and things like this. So it's just yeah.
Yeah, my boyfriend listens to your music. He says that it relaxes him.
Yeah.
So I think it's that kind
it's
of
most-
relaxation music as well.
But it's not that kind of, it's not meditating music or panpipes and, sort of,
Yeah.
it's not new age or, typically ambient. Some ambient music is very, very quiet and is very, very minimal. So we try and put a lot of detail and interesting stuff into the music. So it's good for listening and constant, if you really want to listen to it, there should be plenty there to keep you interested. But at the same time, if you just want to do the washing up and have it on or go to bed, then that should be okay too.
The last question before we'll play it, have you ever considered techno music?
Yes. We had a short and unsuccessful career in techno as the Gaussian pulse before we started ISAN. Yeah.
I would like to make an announcement before we will play, because now we will play actually the first piece. What is the title? It's number one.
Number one.
It's
Yeah.
actually number one. So before that, I would like to make a special announcement. John from Finland, if you still have that techno tape that Antony made back in the day, please get back to us. And now, ISAN with number one.
So that was a pretty relaxing piece of music. And we need that today at the studio.
Yes, we do.
pretty...
We just discovered that we are not really on air, guys. So for all of you who are waiting there and listening, trying to listen to us, we have a good news. If you are listening to us right now, it means that you have found the podcast or YouTube recording, and this is perfect because you haven't missed anything, to be honest. So now we are back. Marta, what do we have in our schedule?
Now it's the second part, and it's entitled, "What the heck am I doing here?"
That's a question that becomes like double relevant today, but
Yeah, but it is...
You know what the heck I'm doing here now.
yes.
But to me, it seems like there are two types of expats that I meet. There are those who are here as through love, and and then there are those who are here because they've been hired to work somewhere.
Yeah,
But
So that was a pretty relaxing piece of music. And we need that today at the studio.
Yes, we do.
pretty...
We just discovered that we are not really on air, guys. So for all of you who are waiting there and listening, trying to listen to us, we have a good news. If you are listening to us right now, it means that you have found the podcast or YouTube recording, and this is perfect because you haven't missed anything, to be honest. So now we are back. Marta, what do we have in our schedule?
Now it's the second part, and it's entitled, What the heck am I doing here?
That's a question that becomes like double relevant today, but
But it is...
You know what the heck I'm doing here now.
yes.
But to me, it seems like there are two types of expats that I meet. There are those who are here as through love, and and then there are those who are here because they've been hired to work somewhere.
Yeah,
but I fall into the first category. So
It doesn't really seem like people make a conscious choice like, I want to live in Denmark because the weather is so great and this is a country of my dreams. It kind of looks like most of people are here following the Danish partner or just being here due to the professional reason, because regardless of how nice this country is, the weather can be sucky.
Well, I have met some people that have come to Denmark because they
Yes.
thought it was a lovely place. And when I first took my decision, I came first to Denmark as a student. I could choose between Denmark, Finland, and Portugal. And I actually chose Denmark because my favorite writer, Joanna Chmielewska, she was placing several of her books. The action was placed in Denmark. And I thought it sounded so interesting. I really wanted to visit this country. So I think some people, and I hope I'm not the only one of them, who came to Denmark for one of these two other reasons. No, but I came as a student the first time. So, of course, there was something more than that. But now I have 5 interesting facts about Denmark that I would like to hear your opinion, Antony. As an expat who has tried the candies for a while and now is stable in Denmark for 8 years. So, fact number 1. 6 to 8 hours of daylight in winter time is not a joke. How do you cope with that?
by making the most of the daylight when it is there. But then I'm lucky because I'm self-employed. I can choose when to go out for a run, so I'll wait until it's at least light and
But
go out and enjoy that.
Is
make the
that
most of it.
true? Is that true that in Denmark, in winter time, there are days where there is no more than 6 hours of daylight?
Yeah, that would be about right. And it was worse when we lived in Sweden because we were a bit more north.
Okay, so but I do have to say that there is something curious about Denmark. In the summer, it's really light for like until midnight. It's way lighter than, for instance, in Poland is.
Mm-hmm.
But in a winter, you feel like in Game of Thrones sometimes.
So if you want to survive in Denmark in winter time, you should be self-employed and choose yourself when you go out and enjoy the view of the sunlight.
That's a good strategy.
Or take
Yeah.
vitamin D.
Or take vitamin D. Yeah. Or use a solarium, which there's one on every corner of every block.
Coincidence? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fact number 2. Denmark is one of the happiest countries in the world. Is it really? What's your opinion?
I think you'd have to ask a Dane.
No, it's a question to you. You have been here now for 8 years.
I could see lots of reasons why it would be one of the happiest countries in the world. Yeah.
So that's a fact. So there is actually like a measurement, happening in the world. And Denmark has several times won as the happiest country in the world. But what's your take on it? Do you feel that people here are so happy?
Maybe not maybe you don't have to talk on behalf of Danes, but actually if Denmark is the happiest country in the world, we all, including international people, should be happy. So maybe you can take this take.
Yeah. I mean, you can see the benefits of the Danish society around and how relatively there are people struggle less, people who are without work or people who are ill or disabled. So there are lots of reasons to not be unhappy, which in a lot of other countries, then it's very difficult to survive or manage in some of those situations. So I think that's I mean, I think if you walk around the streets, you don't see people smiling and beaming with happiness and joy. That's not what it's about. It's about having a standard of welfare that takes away most of the worries or difficulties that you might face.
Because that's exactly my take, that Denmark could be rated as like one of the most secure or most maybe content with the situation countries. But actually this has always kind of like surprised me, because it's actually called the happiest country. And if you go around on the streets, especially in wintertime, happiness is not something that hits you in the face.
But it wouldn't make a very good headline, would it? Denmark is the least unhappy country in the world.
But that would probably be better phrasing for that. No, it's interesting what you said, Marta, because there is a difference between being content and provided for and being genuinely happy. I remember one time, just to give you an example, I talked with my friend from one of the Latin countries. He said that the most happy people he have ever seen were poor villagers somewhere in some mountains. They were the most happy people. They had no welfare. They were basically in their own tribe doing things manually. So happiness is a state of mind. For me personally, it's not that I am being provided. It's like comfort zone, right? We all can stay in our comfort zones forever, but it doesn't mean we will be happy. We will just be comfortable. So for me, that was always a very tricky thing that I have heard, especially that many internationals, that's actually what I have experienced, are having some sort of a feeling down, depression kind of things when they are staying here for longer. I think a lot of it is because of the weather. Because if you have so much wind, so much grayness, it's normal that the weather will influence you, right? But I think those are two different things, happiness and being comfortable. I think Denmark is a wonderful country for taking care of people, but I'm not necessarily naturally boosting with happiness here.
So that's an interesting fact, I think, and we could talk about it for a long time, but I think there is another interesting fact that we should look into. Fact number 3. Summer is a state of mind, not an actual season. I found it hilarious. So those facts, I collected them on the Googles. I went and read quite a lot of different articles and reviews about Denmark and so on. So I really like this. Summer is a state of mind, not an actual season. And of course, this year, we actually had summer.
Oh, so, boy, did we have summer.
Yeah, this year there was actually summer. But if you review the previous 7 years of your life, how has the summer weather, summer season look like?
Yeah. How does summer treat you?
It's not really been that summery, has it?
Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I have to confirm that's mostly state of mind here in Denmark.
But I'm not really a summer person anyway. I like
you're
autumn
not
and winter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were not happy this summer?
No, I enjoyed it a lot. It was really, really nice. But, I quite look forward to autumn, and I really look forward to winter when it's dark and cozy. And maybe that's part of the, they say there's this story about the man who hits himself on the head with a hammer the whole time because it's really nice when it stops. I really enjoy that about in Denmark. I really noticed that the winter is finished. When spring comes along, it's the first time I've enjoyed spring. I always used to... spring was always just a bit annoying for me.
God, this is
because
so true.
should I wear a jacket? Shouldn't I wear a jacket? Is it going to be warm or rainy today? And now it's whoa, that was a real winter, wasn't it? That was a real long winter, and that gives you a sense of relief and release.
I completely agree. Spring and summer, when it actually arrives, is the most beautiful thing in Denmark ever. I have never appreciated sun as I have appreciated it here. So very good example of the hammer in the head.
I'm wondering if it could also have something to do with the age. I noticed that people, when they mature, they get to look into the nature actually more, and they actually get to notice the changes, the seasons, and so on more. So I think people who live in other countries, they may also experience this kind of change just because they mature more. And I think we start to notice these kind of things and get closer to nature.
Does that mean that we get older or what? What
More
are you? What
mature.
are you?
That's the
mature.
unfortunate thing with seasons, isn't it? Every time you get hit another summer, you're another year older.
Okay, I'll close that fact.
Thank
Let's
you.
look into fact number 4.
Yeah.
Learning the Danish alphabet will not help in actually learning the Danish language. True or false?
That's completely true.
That's
And I
totally.
did bring an interesting fact of my own. I didn't know if I was supposed to, but and it's about the Danish language, which has more vowel sounds than any other Indo-European language. There's 32. English has 12 sounds, vowel sounds, and Danish has 32, which is why it's so hard for us to understand the difference between certain words, or for Danish people to completely misunderstand what we're trying to say when we get our vowel sounds slightly wrong, because I was using vowel number 29 instead of 28. But to my ear, they're indistinguishable. But it's that has it's I think it's, and then there are more combined phonemes in Danish. So the sounds that you can make with your mouth, there are more in Danish than there are in anything except Lithuanian in the whole of Europe.
Okay, so Lithuanian is more challenging?
That's got Danish has 52, and I think Lithuanian has a few more.
Oh,
Wow.
I didn't know that part. I knew about the vowels. I have actually seen like a video on YouTube once about the Danish vowels, but the fact about Lithuanian, I did not know that. But I heard you speak in Danish, and you actually sounded pretty well. So you have managed to get there.
Yeah, luck rather than talent.
Luck rather than talent. How does luck help learn Danish? I want to get, where do I get it?
Well, first of all, Antony, you are married to a Dane, so I think that usually helps. Or no?
No, because we never spoke Danish at home.
No.
Because especially because I wanted my son to pick up English as soon as possible, so it was only ever English at home.
Okay.
And then I work. I don't work in Denmark. I work in my little studio in the house, and most of my clients are from outside
All
of Denmark.
all over the world.
Yeah.
So how?
How? Yeah, we want to know. We want to know now.
Actually, since joining the winter bathing club last year, my Danish has got better and better because I'm
You have to learn how to scream for help.
partly, and also, it's really important to know what the difference between a stinging jellyfish and a non-stinging jellyfish is in Danish. So
That's very important.
All very important stuff, yeah. And most of the people that are down there tend to be a bit older, so they're more used to speaking German, for example, instead of English. So I have to talk in Danish.
So winter bathing is the secret if you guys want to learn Danish.
Or join any club, whether that's cycling or running, or you can go to Danish school and you can work in Denmark and that. But if you want real social Danish, or at least to stretch yourself a little bit beyond what you're used to, then joining a club, because you never know what you might be talking about. It's not just work, it's potentially anything.
Okay, the last fact before we get into the second song is Denmark is world's worst at making friends. So that's an actual fact. There is an article about that just as Denmark scores very high on social security, on education and so on among expats, but actually the same Denmark actually scores very high, like the highest in the world, on being the world's worst in being able to make friends when you're an expat in Denmark.
But that's a
True or
relative.
false?
That's true, but I think that's putting it the wrong way around, because I think Danish people are probably better at making firm friends for life in their circle of friends and family. And do they need to make more friends? No. That's a problem for us as expats, maybe, but it's not a problem for Danish people, and it's probably large. It probably helps with the level of contentment and the social feelings of the culture.
Yeah, it is
So
evaluated by expats.
It's
It is
expats.
totally, yeah.
So it's just something we have to suck up as expats, and I don't think it should be judged as worst at making friends.
I copy-paste the fact.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm disagreeing with them, not you, just to be clear. Yeah.
No, but I can see the point, because I don't think really this is a secret. It's definitely very challenging and hard to make friends with Danes when you are a person from another country. There are very few people I know that were able to do it. Usually someone in a family that is a Dane helped them, but it is quite difficult, and that's an experience that most of people I know have. And I think it is a part of a culture, indeed. I think it's a culture that is a very intimate culture. As you said, they can make friends in kindergarten. Actually, we have Kati here talking about networking in Denmark. She's from Philippines, and she said that, many times Danes, they just made friends in kindergarten and they have the same friends until the end of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why.
Yes, so let's close the second part of the show with that notice, and you will now be able to hear the second song, which is entitled
The Way It Goes. Is it correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yes. Gillian Welch.
Gillian Welch.
Thank
And this was
you.
actually, you asked me to choose a couple of pieces of music for the show, and I'm really not very good at that kind of thing, so I actually asked my son Elliot. And this was a piece that he heard on the radio. I love Gillian Welch anyway. She does beautiful sort of country Americana kind of music. And we just happened to be listening to the radio one day, and Elliot said, I really like this song. Can we hear it again and again and again? So when I asked him, when we were cycling to school yesterday, what songs I should play, he said this one.
Okay, so with a special dedication to Elliot, Antony's son.
Hello, back after this beautiful piece of music. We are in a third part of You've Got 5 Options live show, which is not alive. So,
Well, the show is very much alive. We are just not really sure if we are on air, which by definition is a definition. Oh my God, I have a native British speaker. Which should... Okay. See,
okay, anyway,
maybe there
this
are
is
some...
a live show, which is going to be released only as a recorded show. Anyhow, we have now a very interesting part of the show, because we will be talking about 5 questions that we have asked our network about, and we had a very high response this time. So we've had a lot of people giving their opinion. And we will now also ask Antony what is his opinion about those questions.
Because he kind of is the mastermind behind some of them.
Definitely yes. So the first question is, how often do you ask yourself, what the heck am I doing here as an expat? And the options are every day, once or twice a week, once or twice a month. I love being here, therefore I don't ask myself that question. Almost never, or every time someone expects me to speak Danish.
For me, when I moved here, it was every morning. Just
Really?
waking up and thinking, whoa, what am I doing? Whoa, I live in a foreign country. I've never lived in a foreign country before. What?
Except of Sweden.
This was when I first moved to Denmark.
Yeah, the very first.
Yeah, and then I think I've been through all of those phases, and now I don't have to ask myself that question anymore, because I'm quite content living here.
Content?
Yeah.
Does it mean that you are happy or content?
Well, happy, yeah.
Happy, okay.
Oh, okay.
So now you don't ask yourself this question anymore.
No.
You are perfectly happy where you are right now.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
like this almost never.
Almost never, yeah. But I think through the years, all of those different options I would have chosen.
Okay, so 25% of our respondents, they say, actually, I love being here. So that's the highest score, which is quite nice. Though, unfortunately, the second runner, which is almost as high, 23%, is like every day. So it's like either you love it or you are like, what the heck am I doing here? And then we have 19% like once or twice a week, 9% as once or twice a month, and then 13 almost never, and 11 every time someone expects me to speak Danish. And now we will move on to the second question. If there was no limitations, where would you like to live now? So we will let you answer that question first before we tell you.
No limitations. Imagine that. Although there are some limitations like physical, like physics, because one guy answered, and that was Nolan, that simultaneously in 3 different places, if there are no limitations. So we would like to say we meant no limitations like financial, but not like that you can clone yourself and live in different dimensions. So yes, without the physical, quantum physics thing. Where would you like to live if there were no limitations?
Would you know, I would actually, there's a plot of land just around the corner from where I live at a place called Hybylund, which overlooks the beach and overlooks the channel of Lillebælt over to Funen. And I would really like a house built into the hillside there, because there's this beautiful cliff that goes down to the beach. And I always, always, always wanted to live by the sea and look out at the sea from my studio. So it's actually like 250 meters away from where I live now. So, you know, that's quite
You're
okay,
pretty
isn't it?
close,
Yeah.
I can
I'm almost living the dream.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. Really, really amazing. Well, for our respondents, 40% of people said somewhere nice and warm. 20% of people said my home country. 15% said I am unable to choose. And 15% also said I'd just stay here. And then 10% said don't know where, but I'd run away as soon as possible. So apparently there are some people who feel there are very strong limitations to being, able to live. However, what about you, Anna?
Well, first of all, I knew that you will ask me. Second of all, you will get the same question back, so prepare yourself, lady. I don't know. Because there are some places that I always had a lot of curiosity towards, but I have never been. Like one of those places is Hawaii. I really, really, really feel like I need to visit that place. And I'm thinking maybe there's something more behind it. Maybe that's the place where I would like to live. But I would say Hawaii if there were no limitations, because then I would assume there are no limitations to come back if it really sucks. Appreciating everything that Denmark has, there are definitely some things I miss, and weather is kind of one of them. So probably if there would be no limitations, I would look around and choose myself another country, at least try another country.
For me, it's the same as the weather. I do like when it's nice and warm, so I would have chosen that one.
Do you have a specific place in mind?
No, not necessarily, and we don't have that much time, so I will not elaborate on that question.
How convenient.
But I will move on to number 3. How often do you ask yourself, what the heck am I doing here on planet Earth? So now we are expanding to a broader question. It's not only about geographical location, although Earth is kind of geographical location as well. But it's more about, this kind of like more or less like life purpose kind of question.
Like, what am I doing here?
I mean, that's the biggest question you could ever ask a person, and you want us to do that in
Yes,
11 minutes?
because we actually have results, so people know. Antony, get your act together.
Let's hear what other people will say first.
Okay.
And just to be honest, we do actually ask our guests that question. So.
I'm prepared.
So 28% of people said more often than I'd like to admit, because still the question is how often do you ask yourself? So it's not like what exactly are you doing here on planet Earth, but
How often? Yeah.
28% said more often than I'd like to admit. 24% said almost never. I don't think it makes any sense to ask that question, which I think it's sad, really. It makes a lot of sense to ask that question, in my opinion.
Marta
that's
has
just
a face like
my
I killed a
opinion.
puppy.
Okay, and then 24% says sometimes. 12% says I know exactly what I'm doing here. 12% says quite often. I haven't found the answer yet, which is why I am here. And then 0% says every time I go to work, which is good news, because there are not so, people are not so frustrated with places they work. So, Antony, what would be your answer?
Probably not very often, because I think if you know what you're doing or why you're here, then you don't need to ask yourself that question.
And you know.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
You want me to tell you?
Do we, Marta?
I think what can you do with your life on Earth apart from leave some good things behind? So, broadly, generally, there's nothing wrong with knowing that that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting.
And then you don't have to ask yourself the question, because you know what the answer is, just to leave good things behind.
That's a nice stuff. And then some people might feel a need to define to themselves what those good things are. Others people are pretty content with just knowing this.
Well, you can do that on a big scale. I want to
Yeah.
leave, I want to do good things for my son or for the planet. Or you could think about that in sort of all the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis, big and small.
Yes. And apparently there are some people that think that it makes no sense to ask that question because maybe they know. Or maybe it's like a standard answer for them. But question number 4. How often do you ask yourself, what should I be doing instead of what I am doing? So basically that's a question for people who are not necessarily content with what they spend their time on doing. So how often do you ask yourself? And we had the choice of every day, once or twice a week, once or twice a month. I know exactly what I should be doing, but I can't overcome limitations. Almost never or very often, but I find no answer.
Well, since I got 5 options, I know what I should be doing and what I am doing.
So before
thank you.
So before you may have been asking yourself that question
Every day.
every day.
Yeah.
Really?
Hmm?
Really? Was it every day?
Pretty much, I would say, yeah.
Okay.
And that is also the majority of answers. 31% of respondents said every day, and then 25% said once or twice a month, 25% said almost never, 15% of respondents said once or twice a week, and 2% said, I know exactly what I should be doing, but I can't overcome limitations, and 2% very often, but I find no answer. So I think that's a pretty tough situation to be in, the 2% on both answers.
Yeah.
It's a pretty tough spot, though with a lot of potential.
Yes.
So,
because it cannot get worse than that.
no, I mean, from there you are, I think when you are...
you can only go up.
So what about you, Anna? How often do you ask yourself what should you be doing instead of what you're doing now?
Since couple of months, I don't, because I do exactly what I should be doing, and what I love to do and what I feel like doing. But if you would ask me a year ago, I would be like every day, every single day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 5 question is, if there were no limitations, what would you love to be doing instead? So now, yes. So instead of the job that you're doing now, or whatever you spend your time study or whatever, we had the following answers: exactly what I'm doing now. I'd go and travel the world. I'd change my current job into my passion job. I have so many ideas I couldn't decide, or no idea. What's your answer, Antony?
Continue what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Same here. And it's because, I'm from You've Got 5 Options. He listens to You've Got 5 Options. Obviously, You've Got 5 Options is a solution for everything, guys.
Should we do this again next year and find out if it's the same set of answers?
It would be amazing.
Let's do that.
That's pretty amazing.
But tell us, Marta, what the rest said.
Yeah, of course I will. So, 49% of people said, I'd go and travel the world.
Seriously, almost half of people would go and travel the world.
Yes, seriously. And then the second runner was, I have so many ideas I couldn't decide.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one is 15%. I'd change my current job into my passion job.
Mm-hmm.
11% says exactly what I'm doing now. So you guys are
That's
11%.
us.
Yeah. And 6% is no idea.
Marta,
And then
where are you?
And then I have a comment to this question that one of the respondents has given to elaborate. Here's the show version of my answer if relevant. I think that through the work-life balance Denmark is offering, the lack of aggressive marketing, and the excessive respect for personal space, aka most of the Danes will avoid you, you are forced to dig deep into yourself and find out what you really are and what you really enjoy doing with your life. Some might say because of boredom, which is fair. Cheers. And unfortunately, I love this comment. I think it's brilliant. And I wanted to call out the name. Unfortunately, in this file that was prepared by our lovely intern, it doesn't say the name. So we are really sorry. The person who has sent this, I'm really sorry. I cannot call you out by name, but thank you. It was a really entertaining.
It was. I don't know what to say yet. So you basically look inside of yourself because you are bored and you have a lot of privacy because Danes are avoiding you. Well, it was a nice way to put it. Yeah.
So we are about to finalize our show.
But before that, Marta, where were you in the fifth question? You are so much dodging the answers today.
I am really dodging the answers, and you are really pushing to get those answers out. But on another platform, which is called LinkedIn, you asked for plot twists?
Yes.
Yes. And that's also where I am right now. I want a plot twist, but if I announce it, it's not going to be a twist, but a planned and announced action. So I will continue avoiding that question, but I will gladly answer in 1 year's time.
Perfect.
When we are following up on those questions.
We have a deal.
We have a deal. So, guys, right now, I would like to thank you, Antony, for joining us today on a day full of adventures.
It's been a pleasure.
And full of technical challenges that we have not entirely overcome even until now.
Even until now, we are struggling.
So I would like you to tell us what is the last song that we are going to play.
This is, again, another one kind of partly chosen by Elliot because this is our Dancing Around the Kitchen song.
Meaning that's not the title, I hope.
No, but it's a song that if you don't dance around the kitchen when you hear it, you should just try again later.
Oops, because I thought that this is another technical issue. So this time we will listen to Genesis.
Yes, by Grimes.
Grimes. Okay, guys, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And let's dance around the kitchen.
You are listening to You've Got 5 Options show, where we solve your life challenges.
Remember that you can visit our website, the5options.com, where you can submit your challenge or find our previous challenges. That's all, folks!